Good evening, folks. Welcome to another presentation of the Issues Room, Tuesday, June 23rd, I believe. I didn't get my date right today, but I can quickly make sure that I have it because I like to be, very precise, especially when it comes to the date. Yes, indeed, it's June 23rd. Uh, my name is Volcano Shelton. Alfonso couldn't be here tonight with us. He has some family engagements. But anyhow, I am here with a special guest who will be joining me momentarily. But I'd like to welcome you. I hope that you can help us share the production here tonight. We're going to have, a very good conversation. I'd like to say welcome wherever you are. Let me try to do a quick share of the feed here, and if you're there, can you help me do same? I will appreciate it. um, this evening we're going to be discussing citizens and cell phone journalism in Liberia. Is it doing more harm or is it doing good? And what can be done to address some of the issues that emanate as a result of uh, their presentation? We're also going to look at what Deputy Speaker Thomas Fala said during his visit here in America, launching the NIMBO USA, the national movement for Bwakai, support for 2029. He said that the CDC is desperate to come back to power because they want to clear everything. And clear everything meaning that they want to take everything as compared to the first 6 years. So we're going to hold that conversation, and also uh, Representative Samuel Inders, um, in the House of Representatives in Liberia, is challenging, those folks who are trying to encroach on his property, even though there's a court injunction. Police have asked and no one do anything on his land, but the people are defiant, and so he said that if it has to come to physical fight, he will not sit there and allow people to take his, property. He bought his property uh, long before they could come to play around with it, and it is legitimate, and so he's not going to settle for anyone to take his land. So we'll be having that conversation later, to see whether the lawmaker is in the right, if he has to go, fist fight. So again, welcome to all of you. I'd like to say thank you for joining us here tonight. We're here Tuesdays once a week for the Issues Room, and I'm back here on Thursday with the Volcano Shelton Show, um, every Thursday. So let me bring in my guest tonight, Anastasia Johnson. Welcome to the conversation tonight. Let me just say welcome and just tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we begin our full discussion.
Thank you, Shelton, for inviting me on this more powerful show, the Issues Room. Um, I am Athanasius Johnson from Liberia, Grand Bassa. I've been around for a little while as a student leader. The leadership at the University of Liberia, Grand Bassa, um, Busu, and Baswa served as Secretary General of Baswa at the University of Liberia. I'm a former worker at the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunication. Uh, and later on, I traveled in the United States, and I'm here. And so, privilege, can thank you, Stanton, for Shelton, for inviting me on your show.
All right, thank you, Athanasius. Let me get the name right because it's so scientific, Latinic, and what have you. But look, the other day we were just chit chatting, and you were concerned about a growing problem in Liberia regarding the proliferation of cell phone and citizen journalism. You felt that it is a disservice to the country, These folks are not trained, they're not doing well for mainstream media, and you had some concerns. Let's start first with why you think that they are a problem. Let's put it that way, that they are doing more harm than they're doing good for, dissemination of information. Let's start from there.
Oh, yes, Shelton, I have been observing, I am a researcher. And so if you notice uh, the rise of mobile journalism, in context, we call it mobile journalism. It is the seen as people who use their cell phone to carry on the professional work that we all want to consume. So in time immemorial, when the proliferation is just taking a huge landscape along the globe, I see that there is a dichotomy between the professional journalism and the mobile journalism. The professional journalism are people who are well schooled, and they are so professional in the work, and they know what to give the public to consume. And the cell phone journalism, citizens just wake up, maybe not on any institution or even on any no training, and they carry on their work. So I do believe, even though they have their good side, but I do believe they are doing more harm than good, and they need to be, tailored on a professional institution, and then the government, the space in which they operate. There should be, some regulatory body through legislation. And other countries ahead of us, but Liberians like to see the snake coming from 4 feet, 6 feet, 1 foot, even get in their trousers before they act. So my concern is, in how much everything in life has its positive and negative, merit and demerit, we should start acting now, because the next generation and the generation to come, they might not hold us responsible, because if they're consuming the right thing, they say our people did the right thing. But when they're consuming wrong thing and the ugly thing, it will not be good for us, especially when we are old.
So let's give some examples. What do you think would be a misinformation and the danger that could cause? For instance, just throw an example.
Yeah, so let me make some arguments stronger, because with our examples and some references in this, that. Okay, take for example, shelter. In our country, our educational status there, globally, how they rate Liberia educationally. So, for example, a cell phone journalist or a uh, citizen journalist, he was passing, maybe around 6:30 in the morning, and he met somebody in the gutter, either dead or half dead, and he doesn't know the person's medical condition. And maybe doctor have been advising that individual, look, with your medical condition, you have to make drinking 0%. But he didn't know doctor advice, and he went drank excessively.
You mean alcohol consumption?
Alcohol consumption, which of course it is one of the advice from doctor when you have certain medical condition. And you were thrown in the gutter because you didn't know, or you died in the gutter. And that morning, a cell phone journalist was passing, and he put his camera on and started carrying on anything he wanted to do, recording, and then he sent it viral, either on Facebook or on TikTok. Do you know the damage that guy had caused for Liberia relative to investment when to visit, investors want to visit, investors want to visit, or how the new filter in the international community? And then if journalists we are trained
So
professionals.
so I'm missing something here. By
Yeah.
the man recording and disseminating that information, uh, what
And
is he going? So what is there anything that he says that will be
oh
incriminating?
yes, oh
Okay,
yeah.
give an
Most of the
example.
time, they will be talking in the park. In fact, especially when it comes to party loyaltyism, that I know that political divide is one of the major things in the country. So if Georgia is in power and that person that holding that cell phone, that device, proliferated device, he will be talking that it is the Georgia government. Oh Lord, the government and kill somebody here again in the Liberian context. Blah 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 blah. Boom. He all it, you know, on this platform, that is globally known, like TikTok, Facebook. I mean, just that second, 30 minutes, 5 minutes that information had gone. Shelton, if to retract that information, it had caused more harm. And so many. So I believe as a scholar and as I love my country, we can name the negativism on and on and on and on. And when it's positive, it good for our consumption. But when it's negative, we need to start thinking, scholars, how to come together, regulatory board, how to come together, how we will continue this as a growing speedily in the artificial intelligence. It also come to add up. We need to do something now.
All right. So this is what some of the research says here. Um, Cell phone journalism in Liberia has expanded access to information and given ordinary citizens a voice. But many Liberians argue that it has also contributed to misinformation, defamation, political polarization, and the spread of unverified allegations, like you're saying. The challenge is not to eliminate, okay, citizen journalism, but to improve its quality and accountability. So, you have some key suggestions here, right? Um, the problems here are lack of professional training. So many cell phone journalists or citizen journalists have little or no training in fact checking, ethics, media law, or source verification. Rumors are often presented as facts, like you're saying. The speed and accuracy you accounted for, because by the time it goes out there, social media rewards being first rather than being correct. People want to be the first to disseminate the news rather than being correct. Then there's false information that can spread widely before corrections are issued, and then the damage is done. Then also defamation of character, right? And character assassination. Individuals or the government are sometimes accused of crimes or corruption without evidence. Like you said, in the case of finding this guy laying in a gutter, you just assume that he was killed overnight and the government has killed him, right?
Right.
Then you have reputation can be damaged even when allegations later prove false. So, in as much as they come back with results saying no, the government didn't do it. Oh, you're just covering up. You're just covering up. Then also there's political manipulation. Some cell phone journalists are openly aligned with political figures or parties, and they are sent ahead to make these damages, right?
Right.
Audiences may not always know when content is sponsored or politically motivated. Then weak accountability within the system. Professional journalists answers to editors and media institutions. Cell phone journalists don't. They operate independently without oversight. So these are some of the problems that we're talking about. Are you in
Yes,
agreement?
yeah. So yeah, so Sheldon, this is why from just what you gave as a strong argument towards what advise, then look at statutory accreditation and mandatory licensing. Statutory accreditation and mandatory licensing. Country like Zimbabwe, Uganda, if you go deep into research in Zimbabwe, the Media Service Act is a legislation required all practicing journalists to be formally accredited and hold professional degree or diploma. By extension, an independent blogger or using a cell phone to stream news without this official set issue accreditation can be criminally prosecuted by practicing journalism without a license. Now, so in a much we are seeing a huge climbing on the graph of technology for the various generation. Like you and I, maybe I belong to the generation Y. Generation Y. So if we look at the generation beta, how old are they? They are coming up, and they are coming up to meet a sophisticated technology. Right now, we prepare our country right now for them by regulating these growing devices usage. That's my main point. But we said Alibaba when the thing goes on hand. And other countries will say, oh, you go to Ghana, if you go to Tanzania, Uganda, the press and journalists act. They also inculcated the usage of cell phone as a journalist, cell phone journalism, to control it as a government. So as you really put it, we need to do a lot if we want to even institutionalize. We have veteran journalists around. They are getting old. We know the emerging generation, and they are leaving the stage, but their idea, their professionalism can bring something together so that we can get control of what's going to damage her in the future.
So other content here says, so what can be done? You talked about some, and I want to add in the media literacy for the public. The most sustainable solution is teaching citizens how to evaluate information correctly and critically. Like schools, universities, churches, mosques, and community organizations could teach people to verify sources, distinguish facts from opinion, check multiple outlets before believing a claim, and recognize manipulated videos and misleading headlines. And not just misleading videos, but now we're in the AI age. Everything is almost driven by AI. Everything. And so somebody can take a person's image and attach it to another image and create something, and people go with that believability. So you talked about training and certification. Organizations such as the PUL, media houses, and universities could offer voluntary certification programs for digital journalists or citizen journalists or cell phone journalists. Training will cover things like ethics, like facts checking, like defamation law, like digital verification, and responsible reporting during crisis. Certification will help audiences identify more credible content, which is critical, because what we find now, everyone is trying to be a content creator. We should do some self regulation, stronger self regulation rather than government control. Now, we don't want the government to step in and control this. We want to do self regulation where Liberia could encourage self regulation. Citizen journalists could adapt code of conduct, correct, correction of policies, rather disclosure requirements for sponsorship and political affiliations. So for instance, if I'm coming, I should be able to say I'm representing political institution XYZ, even though I'm a citizen journalist, but here's my self-disclosure. So what I'm doing here is not of my own, is representing, or is of my own. So self-disclosure is critical. Organize themselves into a membership union in order to gain respect and to promote media standards, responsibility, and accountability. And I added this piece in. The same way we have the mainstream media press union of Liberia, citizens and cell phone journalists can establish, a media institution membership where they can cover themselves, but then that would promote some degree of media standards. Once they get certification, become responsible and become accountable. That way they understand when they go wrong, It's not going to just be freedom of speech. They will
Right.
be held to certain standards. What do you say to that?
Oh yes, I that is a good research and in line with the control mechanism, or I just spoke of because Shelton, if we go deep into the harm cell phone journalism caused and the good, you could see it in our society that is at the embryonic stage. In how much we are now going to the may way of the 21st century. Look, sometimes government can go in her upper management meeting before with a resolution, shut down with a resolution. But before, if they postpone that meeting the next day, before they can come outside, it unspun. It unspun. So their action relative to accidental open source leak, you can compare it with uh, a drone dropping a bomb. When that bomb had dropped on top of that house, whether it wrong or not, that damage had been done. Spoon pick it up. Political divide. The other side of the political spectrum, pick it up, expand on it. That little thing, whether it is true or not, so now we take almost a month to solve that problem. Sometimes it also hamper investigation. So, Stanton, why not our government look at this now so that we can put all the resources in? You just spoke about technology can continue based on what kind of resources we put in there and get a trained individual from the professional journalism sector or call it society. They will come and bring trained people and help the country. Bring expert on board, bring researcher on board, lawyers and this, that, and we put something in place to continue this now. Or something that Liberians, our mothers are in number 4B. Our parents that still setting basket, they should suffer because of something somebody did that is not even have the iota of truth. I said no. Shelton.
So, a useful principle is that every citizen has the right to report, right? But
That's
everyone
correct.
who reports should also accept the duty to verify. Liberia's media environment will benefit most from stronger standards, better training, and a more media literate public rather than from censorship or excessive government regulations. So we don't want to do that. So, what is the bright side of citizen journalism, especially in a society like Liberia? There is a bright side. Despite its problems, citizen journalism can be a powerful force for good in a country like Liberia, where resources for traditional journalism are often limited and many communities receive little media coverage. So, people in the southeastern part of the country, people in the high mountains of Lofa. Matter of fact, it was the folks in Solomon going viral before people knew that there was a border crisis. Before journalists from mainstream media and Monrovia were able to go and cover. So there's a bright side to all of that, right?
Right.
So giving a voice to the voiceless is why it is important for us to see that there's a bright side. Many rural communities are rarely covered by major media outlets based in Monrovia, so citizen journalists can bring attention to poor roads and bridges, lack of schools and clinics, local corruption within the community achievements and development projects. Without citizen reporting, many of these stories might never reach national attention. So it's faster, it reports faster, you know, for instance, fires, floods, traffic accident, elections, public protests. You see, when there is a fire outbreak, people take to the cell phone and they calling fire service. Oh, my people here, please share the world. You tell fire service to come. The mainstream media is not there. So there is a bright side to all of this. What do you?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes, there are enormous bright side. They look at non-intimidating nature. Every individual holding a cell phone, standing somewhere and doing the courage, people standing around, if not feel, they will never feel intimidated. But when TV crew, big camera, professionals, you will see people will feel, a bit terrified by big professional cameras and multi-personal crew. So they have good side, and I'm gonna agree with you. Okay, I should agree with you. I'm not discrediting them. Accessibility and mobility, the phone fit right in their pocket. This allows the reporter to navigate, touch space in the crowd. Oh yes, they have good side, but the only thing is, they should be, controlled by certain legislation. But why should we, Shelton, want to believe that law should be passed and the entire country should be engulfed by law, but certain sectors should not be engulfed by law? That's my argument. And we need to do it now, because when the proliferation in the next 10 to 15 years, we might not have control over that sector.
And I mean, you make a valid point, in as much as that's why the research says here the real issue is quality and not citizen journalism itself. We
Yeah.
need quality. The debate in Liberia should probably not be framed as citizen journalism versus professional journalism. The strongest media environments combine both because they are working in tandem. I mean, if you think about it, uh, just as I mean, I've received a lot of good information from cell phone journalism and citizen journalism, where mainstream media didn't work. So there is a good side, but also the real issue is quality, it's accuracy, it's facts. So provide training, provide editorial oversight, verification of standards, legal and ethical knowledge. All of those things should be critical. Local knowledge, speed, accessibility, grassroots perspective. All these things are critical for us to make this argument. But in the same vein, we want to make sure that it's not infringing on the rights of people's ability to freely communicate, because it's a form of communication, it's a form of information dissemination. Why it is true that they must be guided. Like for instance, one of the examples I'll give here, which I find to be very, very of high concern to me, when you see men denigrating a female and other men there recording, say beating on that woman, stripping her of her clothing and naked her, children around, and people are recording, no one intervenes. That's the problem for me. That's a problem. And then you go in viral and you go in live, and this kind of inhumane act is being occurred, but no one is intervening. Now, granted, you're maybe afraid to intervene because you may have a backlash, but in as much, where do you protect that person? Where do you protect that person? So those are some of the things that I have problem with. It's not good for the image of the country.
Yeah. So that's why our what we try to intellectualize here is not to eliminate them, because their good side is so good that if one of them reports something that was bad in our society, the ratio of the consumer and the person that report that, there is a wide disparity. So we are not discussing the elimination. We are discussing how we can bring them on a professional platform or institution by our professional journalists. And if people listening, our audience, there are several ways and means that professional journalism can, if they are supported financially, that they can create that platform for us. So we are crying. We are crying. The people in number 3 district crying, the people in Nimba, way in Boblet crying, that these people need to be professionalized by professional journalists by resources. They have several digital means. If you look at the mobile device forensic tools, oh yes, if experts go and work on that, anybody can send wrong information, and if that person need to be tracked, the mobile device forensic tools is another device digitally. Even if you can delete that, if you will delete that information, they will say grab you. So there is our argument. The fee is getting wilder. We are calling on people who are in charge now, decision makers, for to start now. They have good side, they have bad side. But we enjoy the good side, it's not a problem. But when the bad side comes, there will be a problem.
But someone will argue and say even some of the people who work for mainstream media, they're not educated enough. They can barely read. They can barely pronounce. They're in it for the money. They're in it for the cateau. In our profession, we call it the bribe. They're in it for political reasons. So how far are they from citizen journalists? I would rather get my information from a citizen journalist uh, rather than mainstream media, because mainstream media themselves have some very unprofessional, unethical people who just work for bribe, work for small money. How do you balance that equation right there?
So these are some of the areas we're speaking of, Sheraton. Unqualified people are placed to a strategic and sensitive area because of political divide. We condemn all of those. So if we want Liberia to be better, we have to move from those kind of way of sneaking people in government because of political divide, clapping their two hands for elected, legally elected thieves. Now, why do I say that? Maybe the English, the word will be too hard. If I know my cousin is not fit, he had no idea of being my, how to call it, what kind of position, my media man, for example. He had no idea. He gonna take unedited information and just send it to the public because he my cousin and he might get out money, and I just get him there. So these are all wrong. We have to work on those. Now, when you guys who are professional journalists put those things in order that we're discussing, digital the entire stuff, and then do some mandatory licensing, you will track individuals who would be doing the wrong thing, who not qualified and who qualify. And if they are not qualified, you're going to make them qualify. The professional journalists. Because I see the P have to be very unique. But the opportunity. And I know if we want to curtail this, and they are supported, well supported, and bring professional journalists on board, we will be moving, like Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda. If they pass the legislation is not to harm anybody or to stop anybody from doing their work, but for it to be effective and efficient.
All right. So as we wrap this topic on, and I take leave of you, one of the things that I found in the research is that a better future for the model of citizen journalism is possible in Liberia. The most promising approach may be to encourage partnerships between citizen journalists and professional news organizations. Okay, citizens can provide tips, can provide photos, can provide videos, and local information, while trained editors can verify those facts before publication. So that's where that coming together, like you mentioned, So in that model, Liberia gets the best of both worlds. Okay, more information from more places, greater public participation, stronger accountability, better protection against misinformation. The challenge is not whether citizen journalism should exist. It already does, and there's nothing we can do about it. What the challenge is that how to make it more accurate, responsible, and useful to the public while preserving the freedom that makes it valuable in the first place. What's your closing take?
Yeah, so my closing take is um, we are not infringing on the freedom of speech. Sometimes most of us can just take any kind of word, or maybe from BBC or the democratic institution, and just run with it. We are not infringing on the freedom of speech, the freedom of speech of anybody. We are not infringing on uh, the hard work our citizens are doing, especially uh, in the Leeward area, even in Monrovia. Uh, the only thing we're saying here is we're taking into context the harm principle. If you read about the harm principle, to summarize the harm principle by John Mills, you are free to do anything that you want to do, but it should not harm the next person. So I would not feel good, or the people of Soul Clinic, my community, to be punished by just a one person action, or the people of Maserado action. The people of Maserado should not be punished by a journalist, a cell phone journalist action. That is my point. So my parting statement would be, Shelton, continue the show as long as you want. Martin Luther King said in a quote, the whirlwind of reform will continue to shake the destiny. Now, that word destiny means the entire perimeter of the country, the four corner, from Maryland all the way to West Point, until freedom reigns. So if I am a victim, 10,000 people are victim of one person, it is disproportionate. So we are calling on the decision makers, upon hearing or listening to us in the newspaper, on this accredited talk show, it is not too late. And the next generation to come, the generation beta and the generation Y, just from 24 years old down, what are we leaving them? So that's my party statement, Comrade Shelton.
Thank
I
you
want
very
for people
much.
to listen to us.
Thank you, Athanasius. Thank you for joining us here tonight on the issue in the issues room. I thought this was a good point that you brought up in a side conversation. I thought to invite you, and I like the fact that you stomach it to come here and participate in the discourse. I think that we shared some very good perspective. Your position is firm, that it is not negative in the sense in its entirety, but it does more harm than good. And what needs to be done is that the decision makers should formulate some kind of medium to kind of give some regulations, some standards, some responsibilities, some accountabilities, so that people can be ethical in what they do, be responsible, be accountable to their actions and inactions, so that we don't infringe on the greater society, rather than do good than more harm. And I want to thank you, and I hope that you will avail yourself at some point again to join us here in the issues room. My other topic is not for you, so I'm not keeping you long. I will let you take your leave, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so that was Athanasius Johnson. We just covered the issue of citizen journalism, and he had his perspective, and I thought it was a good conversation here. If you just joining us, welcome to the Issues Room. Volcano Shelton with you here this evening. My colleague Alfonso Yunu could not be here with us. He's, has some engagement with family. However, we are here to keep the show going. And tonight we are discussing three topics. So I'd like to dive straight into the next conversation. If you know by now, Deputy Speaker Thomas Fowler is in the U.S. and he has been going around the country. He started out here in Philadelphia, launching the U.S. Branch or chapter, if you want to put it that way, of NIMBO. NIMBO is the national movement for boycott. I believe it has some political connotation for 2029, and he's here in the country. However, he was just in the Midwest the other day, and he was at the launching of a Midwest chapter, and he said something that is very catchy. And so I thought to put that into our conversation and then look at some of the research as to how we can go about really balancing what he said and with CDC right now. So let me try to get to that and have it ready for you. Just give me a beautiful moment. So it's already
They were
ready.
just in power 2 years ago. That they not gave the solution, the people changed it. Today, they on the left side, every day you can hear in the country. And they make you also believe they got the solution, so they must come back. How? Why you left that you will come to? Why you left that? Why you left that? That you coming for? So you want that clarity. And that's why all of you guys, you need to open your eyes and be wise. Because you are being hit. These people are being hit. They believe that they made mistakes. And Liberian people decided not to retain them. So if you made that mistake, trust me, I hope to be alive. If we Liberians made that mistake and bring them back, it will be the worst thing in our country history.
So, so Thomas Fowler, many of you know the name Thomas Fowler. He's the Deputy Speaker in the House of Representatives. He came to that position through the Congress for Democratic Change, or the Coalition of Democratic Change. And whatever happened, apparently he's been expelled, or was expelled rather, from the institution, and he's now siding with the ruling government. And he established what is considered NIMBO. And NIMBO, again, as I said, is a movement for Boakai's re-election in 2029. And he's going across the U.S. trying to, lead chapters for those Liberians here in the diaspora to be a part of the movement to bring Boakai back to power. Boakai is the incumbent president right now in Liberia. So he's going around trying to get NIMBO set up. So he said that what he said is that CDC is very desperate to come back to power. They're doing everything and everything. But he thinks that they're coming back, it would be a disaster. And he's forewarning Liberians, and he wishes that he's alive when that happens, because he wants to see the catastrophe that would be caused if Liberians re-elect President Weah or bring the CDC back, whether with another candidate. He said they're going to come to clear everything, because the first 6 years, what it took was not enough. They're going to come back this time around to clear everything. But what the research says here is that why the opposition CDC change is likely talking so much about 2029, there are several political reasons why. Why they just so much talking? You hear Carlos Gray, he's desperate. He's telling you that if Boakai become president, this one should happen to me. This one should happen to me. And it's just too much, going on. Too much. So here's what it is. Opposition parties need a path back to relevance. So the conversation now is that they need a path, back to relevance. After losing in 2023, the CDC's biggest challenge was avoiding demoralization among its supporters. So political parties that lose power often begin organizing for the next elections almost immediately to help keep their base energized and united. So this shouldn't be a strange phenomenon. They're doing this now so that the base can be energized and united. CDC leaders have repeatedly used slogans such as setback to comeback, setback to comeback, and have launched activities aimed at rebuilding party structures and morale. That is why they've launched the building of the headquarters, because they were evicted from a rental space on the Tubman Boulevard in Congo Town, and now they're working hard to have the National Party headquarters probably done before the national elections in 2029. So it's a part of the process. George Weah also remains a major political figure. Former President Weah still commands significant support, particularly among many young voters and longtime CDC partisans. Several CDC-aligned figures and allies have openly promoted the idea of a Weah return in 2029, and they are now organizing around that possibility. That is why you're hearing all of this noise. CDC believes that voters' disappointment could help it. So, like opposition parties everywhere, the CDC is betting that some voters may become dissatisfied with the performance of the current government before the next elections. And you're seeing it right now. People are crying. The demolition exercise led people to start saying, with sorry, our power will bring you back. The rainy season now, many communities becoming flooded, as if to say it's a new phenomenon. Many people saying, our power with sorrow, as if to say there was no flooding during the 6 years of the CDC. The cost of living, people are arguing that the cost of living is so high, but what they fail to realize, 6 years behind and 6 years later, things have changed. We have a war in the Middle East that is creating all of this havoc around cost of living, especially for petroleum. So whether in Weah's leadership, or whether in Boyka's leadership, or whether in whoever leadership, when the global economy is impacted, everywhere feels the pinch. So they're making all of this argument. So criticizing the Boyka administration and arguing that public frustration could create an opportunity for their return. So that's why they're being loud. So Thomas Fala is trying to, go after them by saying that don't listen to all that noise. Listen to what Nimbo is saying. Listen to what we're propagating. We're telling you, you can see, you can feel, you can touch, you can smell. Don't listen to them. So CDC, on the other hand, is using early mobilization as a common politics. The CDC is not unique in preparing years ahead of an election. Reports indicate that both the CDC and the ruling Unity Party have been mobilizing supporters, fundraising, and strengthening local structures before 2029. That is why there is a nimble. Now, I recently heard Wilmer Pace, former Mines and Energy, not Lands, but Mines and Energy Minister, that the formation of Nimbo is not in the favor of the Unity Party. His argument that if these guys who were opposition want to be a part of the enjoyment of the Unity Party, then why don't they just come into the Unity Party rather than form smaller subgroups in the image of the Unity Party? Internal party survival is critical. So for many major political parties, remaining out of power for too long can lead to defections. So the CDC is making this noise because they want to hold a strong base. Factional disputes can come about. That is why you have a Thomas Fala gone. That is why you have a Moba Molu gone. How many other people will transition? We don't know yet. So declining influence also, if they're not making noise. Maintaining a credible path back to power helps keep supporters closer, donors and local leaders engaged. At the same time, there are signs of internal debate within the CDC about leadership and strategies, suggesting that everyone agrees on the best route back to government, and especially with Weah at the center. Right now, the CDC is not willing to compromise the return to power, and they want to do that on the wings of former President Weah. And again, don't make any mistake, he's still relevant. He's still relevant. A different perspective, whether the CDC is desperate or simply behaving like a normal opposition party, depends on one's political opinion. Supporters will say the party is responsibly preparing to offer an alternative government. Critics will argue it is focusing too much on regaining power rather than reflecting on why they lost in 2023. Ultimately, the real question for Liberian voters in 2029 may not be whether the CDC wants power back. Every major political party does want power back, but whether it can convince voters that it has learned from its years in government and offers a stronger vision than the alternatives. In addition, history proves that once a thief is always a thief. These two parties and the hierarchies will give Liberians nothing more than they will give themselves first. Let us remember this. I want to repeat that. History proves that once a thief is always a thief. These two political parties, meaning the CDC and the Unity Party, their hierarchies will give Liberia nothing more than they'll give themselves first. Ordinary Liberians, beware. It's time for you to begin the contemplation of chartering a new course for your destiny, rather than return either party to power. Decide for the greater good of the country, not for a few criminals, because when the 2029 dust settles, you will be left in limbo and not in nimbo. Okay? Think about that. So the final conversation here tonight that we thought to bring to you is the issue of Representative Inder. He's been fighting this legal battle and controversy with his land somewhere in the Kingray area. People have gone there to take over his land, and he's brought in the new the court injunction. He brought in the police to stop him, but kind of like nothing is happening. These guys are still being defiant, right? So he says that he will not sit by and allow people to take his legitimate property. He bought the property of a family in the Kingray community in Painesville. So let's go to the clip, and then once we get the clip played, we'll come back to let me just remove this clip quick from the scene and get this clip, and hopefully I can get it situated right here. Give me a quick minute. Let me sometimes navigating back and forth can be a little bit of issues. Okay. Alrighty. So let's hear from Mr. Inder.
So yesterday I was here, there was an attack. What you did not see was when I was hit and my phone was taken away from me. This is a cut on my lip. This is a punch on my head. We are a country of law, and I think people must respect the law. We went to the court, and the court said no one should be on this land. The guy said they would still come on the land. This is my property. I bought this from the Kingray family who owns this area. They came on the land yesterday, and they continue to plan. I'm here today, and I'll be going live. Anything they put in the ground, I will move it from the ground. The police came. The police said to them, no one should come on this land. They are here today. They fill out this place with people, and they're about to do the same thing that they told them not to do yesterday. As you can see, the place is full of people. I am here today. This is my property. No one will put anything in this ground. We must learn to respect the law of this country. We must respect the police. If the police tell you don't come to the ground, you must suspend the police. So I want you to see what's going on behind me. So I'm here today. They got cut my face. They got people who are here. Today, this is my property. No one will put anything on this ground today. So the police have given warning that no one should come here. But these guys say they will not listen. They will do what they can. They're not going to adhere to what the law has said. So they are here to work. So I'm here today. So today, I'm going to stop it. So there's someone giving order that it should work. Anything they put in the ground, I will remove it from the ground today.
So, what do you make of that? This land dispute involving Representative Samuel Indus requires him to pursue every lawful avenue rather than trying to fight back. Look at those kinds of people over there. He has to protect his property, but at the same time, he should not personally engage in a physical confrontation. This is what he's saying he's going to do. He has to do because they are defiant. Report indicates that he was recently involved in this public altercation, which of course he just mentioned, about being hit in the mouth, being hit on the head. But the matter is already before the legal authorities. So these are some of the things that he should do. Okay? Let him adhere to the rule of law. If every property owner personally fought for land, disputes could quickly escalate into violence. Court surveyors, police, and land authorities exist precisely to resolve competing claims. That's why these institutions and these folks are there for. So he cannot go and fight. He's an honorable man. I know that it hurts for you to be defied, that the court has put up an injunction, that the police has said nobody should encroach on the land. But look at the people who are there. These are all, I'm not going to classify anyone, but these are the people who really start up the dirt in the country, meaning they're just hanging around and somebody can use them to cause chaos. He should remember that public officials are held to a higher standard, and especially being an honorable man in the House. As a sitting lawmaker, Indus' actions are scrutinized more closely than those of the ordinary citizens. He has to pay attention to that. So a physical confrontation can undermine confidence in the legal process regardless of who is right. He has to play the role of a bigger man. So Representative Indus, if you're listening to me tonight, I implore you to pay attention to the things I'm talking about. You have to be the bigger man. Self-help can weaken a strong legal case. Taking actions into your hand, trying to fight back, can weaken your case. Even if someone genuinely believes the land belongs to them, taking matters into their own hands can create new legal problems and distract from the underlying ownership question. So for instance, somebody hits you, you hit them back, and you hit them so fatal that they end up in the hospital. That's a whole separate act of violence. That's a whole separate lawsuit or a case that you have to deal with. Then the land issue now becomes secondary. They're not going to look at the fact that they were on your property and you have the right to protect your property. They won't see it as trespassing. What you need to do is to continue to pursue the law and continue to pursue police intervention. That's what you need to do. You're an honorable man. You have the authority. So you have the right to defend your interests. But that doesn't mean doing nothing. You can also challenge and reverse court decisions through appeals if that happens to be the case. You can present your deeds. You can do surveys. You can show ownership documents, right? You can seek injunction, as we're talking about here, which is part of the legal remedies. You can request police protection if there are threats or unlawful encroachments, which you're doing. So let the police and the legal system act on your behalf rather than trying to fight back. A fair principle is that you You, meaning you, can fight for your property through the law, not through your fist. I'm hearing you say that if anybody does this, you're going to take it all, and somebody might hit you. You said that people have machetes, cutlasses, they have things that can harm you. How do you know, or how do we rather know, how many men you have on your side and whether there's a disproportionate amount of people there? They could outnumber you guys. If you have a valid claim, the strongest and most sustainable victory is the one that comes through the courts and established legal procedures rather than through personal confrontation. We can't have you doing that as a lawmaker. You're an honorable man. A fair principle that you should fight for your property, right? But it's not that way. Even with the court injunction to prevent the people from encroaching on your land, they are still defiant. So this is what you should do with this case. If there is a valid court injunction that you know and people are deliberately ignoring it, the proper response is to generally seek enforcement from the court's order rather than personally confront the alleged encroachers. You could take these steps. Report a violation to the appropriate law enforcement authorities. Go back to the police. That's why you have community policing. You have the zones in your locale, right? You're a representative. You are the most powerful man in your district. Go to the police station there and say, hey, even though you say these people should not come on the land, they're back, they're defying, go to the court to hold the violators in contempt of the court ruling. If they are knowingly disobeying an injunction, the court has the power. The court can arrest them, for hold them in contempt. Request additional enforcement measures from the court. Document any alleged violations with photographs, with videos, with witness statements, and other evidence, but don't get into physical confrontation. Working through your attorney to ensure that all legal remedies are pursued. That is why you have your attorney to handle the matter. So from a broader governance perspective, this is also a test of state institutions. If courts issue orders, but those orders are not enforced, public confidence in the justice system can suffer. We know that. The responsibility of enforcing court orders rests primarily with the relevant authorities and not with the individual litigants. This said, one can understand why a property owner will become frustrated if people continue to occupy or develop land despite a court order. The difficulty is that direct physical confrontation or intervention by the property owner, even when they believe they are in the right, can escalate into tension, lead to injuries, and create additional legal complications. So, if the facts are described, the strongest course for you, Mr. Indus, to take would be to press for vigorous enforcement of the injunction through the courts and law enforcement agencies while avoiding any personal act of force. That approach protects both your legal position and the principle that disputes should be resolved through institutions rather than confrontation. You can also use the House of Representatives to your advantage by proffering a bill to address these kinds of situations. You are a lawmaker. Put a bill forth so that when people are disagreeing or disregarding the court, something can be done. But the court also has its own power. So again, use your lawyer. Okay? Use law enforcement. Use the court. Go back to the court. Say you told the people. Now, the court can come and say, why do you over any structure here? We told you not to do anything. The court has the authority to send the sheriff there, send law enforcement, arrest some people, break this stuff down, and go from there. But it doesn't go well for you, being an honorable man, to go into a fist fight. You already got your lip busted. You already got a punch in the head. You don't want it further, getting injured further. Because again, these guys, they don't care. They don't care. So this is for anyone who owns a land. Avoid confrontation. Make sure that you stay safe. Let the law, take its course. Because quite frankly, you are a lawmaker. You should know better. You should know better than to go into a fist fight with guys who are bent on, just causing trouble. Don't scoop to the hooliganism, rather than stay professional and stay honorable. That would be my plea to you. So hopefully you listen to this and it can help you resolve this matter. I would say that's the best I can tell you, Representative Enders. I want to thank all of you for joining me here this evening. It was a very good time with you in the issues room. Unfortunately, I didn't have Alfonso here, but it was a good conversation. We covered 3 major topics. But I thought to just say this before I go. Again, I strongly believe that what we see now in Liberia is almost like we're stuck with UP and CDC, just like we have in the United States, the Republican and the Democratic Party. We have to find an alternative. We have to. Because we see time immemorial, since the renaissance of our democracy in 2005, we've seen poor people become so wealthy overnight. We've seen guys with nothing becomes millionaire overnight. And we see the country remain a little bit small progress here and there, but a bulk of what is happening in the country is as a result of the diaspora and the international community. The very guys who become rich overnight take their gains and go into other countries, buy homes, build properties, and they brag about it. They don't put money into the healthcare sector because they have enough to go to neighboring countries and to India and other places to treat themselves. Is this what you want again, 2029? I said it earlier. A thief will always be a thief. These two parties, the hierarchies of these two parties, will not give much to Liberia than they will give to themselves. It is about them. It is about them, and you can see it. Look at the comeback of the UP. Look at the comeback of the UP. How many people getting rich? Look at what is trending in the country. In as much President Bouaga is trying to do what he thinks he's doing, the people are jumping over his head and doing what they want to do. So imagine George Weah time where all he wanted was the money for himself. What was happening, he didn't care. I don't know how much money Bouaga is amassing. That's not my business. That Liberian people business. They should be able to discern. They should be able to see. But the people around him. So we want to return to that? Do we want to return to that? Or do we want an alternative? And I think it's about time that some of us in the diaspora begin to contemplate this, that we can bring something to neutralize between the UP and the CDC or whatever conglomerations out there in Liberia. Because Liberia just doesn't belong to these groups of people on the grounds. We play a major part in the political discourse of that country. So let us stop being the fence sitter, sideliners, spectators in the political arena. We need to rise up in the diaspora. Imagine Thomas Fowler running here to the diaspora to what? Establish small groups networks, or whatever you want to call it, cells, chapters, it means that we have relevance in Liberian politics. We have absolute relevance in Liberian politics. So instead of us supporting these small silos and these political institutions, when they come to power, then we become outsiders. We need to galvanize our resources in the tunes of the millions that we send in, what I call remittances, the structures that we're building in Liberia, and put our political institution together from the diaspora to neutralize UP and CDC. Because if we depend on these two parties, our country not going anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere. We'll be like a car stuck in the mud. You push from here there, and it's hitch. You got to push it back to free it. Then you push again. Then it hitch. You got to push it back. So you just going forward and backwards, going forward and backwards, and the forward is not even forward. It's just one step and one step forward, one step backwards, one step forward, one step backward. I don't care who say what tonight. You won't speak to me like your business. But the truth is, we need to neutralize CDC and we need to neutralize UP come 2029. We need to mobilize our diaspora political party and go in that country and cause havoc. Make it difficult for these two parties because we're not going anywhere. No one comes to power in Liberia, don't run to America to seek our support. They come to these town halls, they're looking to us for money, they're begging us for money. Then when they go to Liberia and they win the election, then they turn their back on us. Then they laugh at us, then they say, Trump coming for y'all. We have to work together. We have to mobilize in this diaspora. It doesn't have to be America. We have many Liberians in Australia, in England, in Europe, parts of Europe. I think that should be the message. And that would be the message on my show comes Thursday. We need an alternative. We can't keep allowing ourselves to be used. And then when they come to power, we become the outsiders. Then we're strangers. Then when we even want to invest in the country, they create bottlenecks. But they give the investment to foreigners because they can easily cajole the foreigners to give them little handouts. Okay? So, someone is saying here, let me see who this. I won't be surprised. Okay, so Manja is saying here, I respectfully disagree. Whatever funds the president is amassing at the expense of the Liberian people is your business because you are a Liberian who have heavily invested in Liberia in your own ways. But put it, maybe I said something that you disagree with, so I'm not sure. You need to remind me of what I said for you to disagree, Manja. But it's our business. I agree, it's our business. But the point I'm making here is if you don't want to speak to me tomorrow, that's on you. That's on you. But we need something to balance this equation. We need to put a political party with power. With power. With power. With wisdom. With brightest minds. I know man is always fighting to get rich and get richer. But there's some of us who are content, we're satisfied with where we are in life. And not just me, but many Liberians. They just want the good for the country. I just want the good for the country. I want to be in Liberia and believe in the healthcare system. I want to be in Liberia and believe in the security sector. I want to be in Liberia and believe in the educational sector. I want to be in Liberia and believe in the economy. We were there before. We should get back there. But what we have now is everybody grappling and fighting to become wealthy and become rich. That is why we're struggling as a nation. How many poor people got a ball and are millionaires overnight, buying houses all over this country, all over the world? How many? How many people did Ellie not make rich? How many people did we are not make rich? How many people did Bwaka is not making rich? How many? That's the point. That's the point. So I'll keep it for Thursday. We'll come back here and we'll talk about it. I want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. Thank you for those of you who watched. It's something to ponder. It's something to think about. I want to say thank you to Harvey Sugar Odell for coming in. Minimin Ajua Joseph. Of course, my man Sanja Manja. Thank you for coming. D. Avi McKay. It was a pleasure having you come again. But thank you so much for sharing your perspective. We appreciate your thought. We cannot go against what you say. You are entitled to your opinion, just like we are. And we can just build that consensus and common ground so that all of us can be on the same page. It's anything we talk about here is for Liberia. It's not for me. It's not for me. It's for Liberia. Okay? So, again, thank you. Good night. Have a great one.